On Tuesday, CNN ORC released a new poll that could be a game changer for Donald Trump if the poll isn't an outlier. It shows Trump up 45% to 43% over Hillary. Now, obviously, if that holds up, he'd be winning, but there's something even more significant in this poll than prior polls showing him up slightly over Hillary. It shows him breaking what appears to be this 41% ceiling I talk about a lot. Trump hadn't broken 41% since one Monmouth poll in July. In that one, he was losing 45 to 43. Before that, since May, Trump's biggest problem in this election cycle has been his total inability to translate Hillary's wild unpopularity into his own popularity. He's been stuck in the polls. Every time the polls narrow, it's only because Hillary has been unable to boost her favorability rating. She'll drop from like 47 to 41. If Trump is truly stuck below 42, he can't win the election. He and Hillary will be splitting about 90% of the vote. Assume the other 10% goes to Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, meaning that if he's stuck at 42, she beats him 48 to 42. But if he's moving above 42%, the race is an entirely new ballgame. There's more stunning information in this poll, too. Trump's favorability ratings are higher than Clinton's, 45 to 42. Fully 16% of Americans label immigration their top concern in the election. About 20% say the economy. Trump is leading on the economy, slightly behind on immigration. Trump is beating Hillary on the economy 56 to 41. He's seen as more trustworthy by 50% of the public. Only 35% think Hillary's trustworthy. He's seen as more strong and decisive than she is by a margin of 50 to 42. The male gender gap is worse for Hillary, 52 to 32 for Trump. Then the female gender gap is good for her, 52 to 38 for her. Trump's defeating Hillary among independents by 20%. These are terrible, terrible numbers for Hillary Clinton. Now, it's worth noting here a couple of things about this poll. The Republicans have a +4 sample, and that is not really reflective of the voting base usually in presidential elections. Plus, there's a big difference between registered voters and likely voters in this particular poll. When there's a big swing like that, it usually means the poll's an outlier. But it is possible that new Trump is seeing movement because new Trump is better than old Trump. New Trump's on the teleprompter. He's demonstrating he's not a national security risk by traveling to Mexico and acting like a normal human. He's attempting to moderate his stance on immigration. Meanwhile, Hillary is floundering in her own corruption, which means that Trump may be convincing Americans he's a plausible alternative to Hillary. If that happens, if she's unable to cast him as completely unacceptable under any circumstances, President Trump could actually become a reality. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So as you can see, I'm going to be guzzling water this entire show because, like Hillary Clinton, I'm dying of the black lung. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, I want to say hello to one of our great sponsors, FrameBridge. FrameBridge.com is the place to go if you need frames. Now, for me, I spend tons and tons and tons of money on frames because I've got all sorts of memorabilia, I've got all sorts of autographs, I've got posters, and they're really expensive. If you've ever had to frame something big, this stuff can cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Well, what's great about FrameBridge is you go on their site and they take a look at you take a look at their various options. You can pick your frame online, and then you send them your pictures. And they take great care of your pictures. They're not going to ruin them. They create a guarantee for you. They're not going to ruin anything that you send to them. And their pricing is really straightforward. It's Instagram photos for $39, a small photo for $59, a standard movie poster is $139, which sounds expensive until you realize that's a customized movie poster frame for $139, which is way less than it would be. I framed something like a newspaper cover maybe a year and a half ago. It cost me $300 to frame it. So this costs you about half. FrameBridge is fantastic. Go to framebridge.com and you pick out the frame you want, and they have designers who can also help you choose the frame. And you can upload your pictures directly to them or send a physical picture for them to frame. Right now, if you go to framebridge.com and use the promo code BEN, you'll save an additional 15% off your first order. So make sure, framebridge.com, remember the promo code BEN. That lets them know that you're coming because you listen to the show, and that allows them to continue advertising with us and keep all of our otherwise unemployable minions in a job. So framebridge.com, and that's promo code BEN, 15% off the first order. Okay, so tons to get to today. Lots to get to today here on the Ben Shapiro Show. So we'll start off with the fact that Hillary, the big story of the weekend was not Hillary having her coughing fits. We'll get to Hillary and her coughing fits in just a minute. The big story of the weekend happened on Friday. There's a big Friday news dump. And this Friday news dump was the FBI handing out these documents about why it didn't indict Hillary Clinton. When you read the documents, one thing is clear. There is no way in living hell Hillary Clinton should not have been indicted. One of two things is true from these documents. One, Hillary's the most incompetent person ever, like ever. She makes historic incompetence like the Emperor Nero look like just the most competent people in the world. She's super incompetent, or she's a full-scale criminal. Here's what it said in this report. Here are 11 things it said in this report. First, remember Hillary promised the reason she set up the private server is because she only wanted to use one BlackBerry and one email account. Well, we knew that she had at least 2 email accounts, she had at least 2 phone numbers, and she had at least 13 BlackBerries, at least 13 mobile devices. Right? So she didn't set it up just to use one BlackBerry. And then when she was done with her BlackBerry, she didn't preserve them so that the documents would be available from the SIM card. Instead, she had her aides actually take them out and use a hammer to break them, right? Like the Office Space style. Like they took them out into a field somewhere with a jackhammer, and they played rap music as Hillary went out there with her walker, took the tennis balls off the ends of it, and just beat the phones to death. Okay, also, Hillary told the FBI she had no clue how classified intelligence worked. So remember, she's the most qualified woman in the history of the world, right? She knows everything. She's super qualified. She's super professional. She had no clue how classification worked. According to the FBI, quote, Clinton could not give an example of how classification of a document was determined. She did not recall receiving any email she thought should not be on an unclassified system. There's an email in there about a Pakistani drone attack. Okay, you and I know that that's classified stuff. But she said that didn't give her any cause for concern over classification. She had almost 18,000 work-related emails from the State Department. You remember, she said, I handed over all my work-related emails to the State Department. She deleted 30,000 of those. 18,000 of those were work-related that she had not handed over. Okay, she also wiped her email again after the New York Times reported the private server. So she handed over her stuff to the State Department. She wiped it. The New York Times reports she has a private server. And this is from the FBI report, okay? One person interviewed, the person who works on her server, said, quote, he indicated he believed he had an oh bleep moment, oh bleep being oh horse poop moment, and sometimes between March 25th and 31st, 2015, deleted the Clinton archive mailbox. So he realized that it could go public. He deleted everything. No, it's not a cover-up. Not a cover-up. My favorite thing about this report, Hillary said she didn't think that a C on the emails, if it was marked with a C, she said she didn't realize that meant confidential. She didn't know what that meant. What did she think it meant? She think it meant cheese? What do you think the C was for? I mean, it's unbelievable, right? She said that she thought that it was at the beginning of paragraphs, and it was referencing paragraphs marked in alphabetical order. This is why she also takes 3-year-old children to R-rated movies, because she thinks they stand for refreshing. Right? She also brought her BlackBerry into a secure State Department area. So they say, you're not supposed to bring your BlackBerry in here because we have all sorts of secure information in here. Didn't matter. She brought it in anyway. There were 81 classified email chains containing 8 email chains classified top secret in these emails. But remember, none of it was classified. Hillary also apparently put Americans at risk. According to Catherine Herridge of Fox News, she discussed an undercover asset on her email server and outed him after he was dead, which of course exposed his family to risk. And then she told her lawyers to destroy everything, but she didn't participate in developing the specific process by which things were destroyed. Yeah, sure. And finally, she attempted to avoid scrutiny. So that when she broke one of her BlackBerries, for example, the State Department said, you know what, we'll give you a new BlackBerry. And she found out that that new BlackBerry would require all of that material to be discoverable, right? All that. And so she said, nah, I'm not going to take the State Department BlackBerry. I don't need the State Department BlackBerry, right? So this is what the FBI says. So James Comey comes out and he says she didn't have intent. If she didn't have intent, she's the stupidest woman on the face of the earth. I mean, if she didn't have intent, she fell off the stupid tree and she hit every branch on the way down. If she didn't have intent, she was dropped on a pile of bricks as a baby, straight on her head. I mean, so either she's unbelievably stupid and unqualified, or she had intent, right? So Comey took the fall. Well, Hillary is totally dishonest and the polls are showing it, right? And because the polls are showing it, she's got trouble. So Hillary decides it's finally time to take questions from the press. So here's Hillary taking questions from the press.
I am so happy to have all of you with me.
Have you missed us?
I've been just waiting for this moment. And I'm thrilled. No, really, and I'll come back talk to you more formally, but I wanted to welcome you onto the plane.
How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was good. It was really good. Yeah, we had a good time. The last moment of... Hello, Mark. How are you? I recognize your hat. How are you? I'm glad you're here. Yeah, last moment before the mad dash, the next 2 months. So I hope you guys are ready. And
are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, crazy old lady addresses her sycophants. So I love the fact that she walks out and says, this is what I've been waiting for. Who was stopping you? I mean, it's been a year since you did a press conference. Who was stopping you? I mean, did they let you out of your cage? Like, what happened? Suddenly she said, I've been waiting for this for years. Well, you could have done it like a long time ago, but you didn't. So, and I love the first two questions from the press, right? How was your weekend? Ooh, hard-hitting stuff from the press. The press really hitting her hard. So they wait for a year for a press conference. She finally shows up, and the first two questions are, how are you feeling, and how was your weekend? Okay, like, I asked that to my wife after she had long call as a doctor. I asked that to my friends at the office. I don't ask that to the presidential candidate who hasn't shown her face, right? She's like the Wizard of Oz, hiding behind this manufactured picture of her. And they finally pull back the curtain, right? Imagine Dorothy goes to see the Wizard of Oz. They finally pull back the curtain, and instead of saying, "Oh my God, you're there, and you're not the great and powerful Oz," imagine if she just said, "How are you doing? How was your Labor Day weekend?" That's basically what happened here. They reveal the Wicked Witch of the West, and the first question isn't, why do you fly around on a broom and write "Surrender Dorothy" in the sky? The first question is, how was your Labor Day weekend? All right. And so the press are totally in the tank for her. And one of the reasons that so many people are rallying behind Trump is because no matter what, the press just appear to be in the tank. So Jake Tapper, who is one of the better reporters on CNN, which is not saying a lot. Jake Tapper, he has on Rudy Giuliani, and watch him press Rudy Giuliani on something that is at least 5 years old.
Donald Trump talking about this as recently as February of last year at CPAC, saying that he thinks the birth certificate is false. Should he just apologize for this to let, if he really wants to reach out to minority voters?
You know, if everybody apologized for all the things they said in politics, all we'd be doing on television shows is apologizing. Let's get down to the basic issue here. For years, people say Republicans don't reach out to the African-American community. Well, he reached out to the African-American community.
Okay, well, Giuliani, first of all, should Trump have backed off the birther stuff a long time? Sure, but why are we talking about it now? I love that Jake Tapper's like, as recently as 18 months ago, he was saying something. Okay, 18 months ago, my baby was not even conceived yet. Okay, 18 months ago is a long time ago. It's really ridiculous. I mean, the media asking about birtherism in the middle of the election cycle now. Talk about old news. It's amazing. For Hillary Clinton, everything is old news. Everything is old news, mainly because she's old. But everything is old news. With Donald Trump, nothing is old news. With the Republican, it's never old news. With Mitt Romney, he could cut a kid's hair in 1957, and it wasn't old news. Donald Trump says something 18 months ago. It's not old news. Hillary Clinton, on Friday, it turns out that she's basically should have been indicted. Old news, old news. And watch Gloria Borger, right? Gloria Borger goes after Ivanka Trump. She asks Ivanka Trump, is your dad a sexist?
And so if I ask you the question flat out, is he a sexist?
He's absolutely not a sexist. There's no way I could be the person I am today if my father was a sexist. I would not be one of his senior most executives, and I would not be working shoulder to shoulder with my brothers. I would be working for my brothers, if at all. So, you know, I think actions ultimately speak louder than words. My father has 40 years of history of employing women.
Okay, so I'm not going to pay attention to her answer here because I have my own issues with the answer. But here's the point. When was the last time you saw Chelsea Clinton on TV being asked if her dad, who rapes women, is a sexist? Ever? Has that ever happened? Has Chelsea Clinton ever been on TV and somebody just said, hey, your dad rapes people? Is he a sexist? Right? Your mom covers up for the rape. Is she a sexist? Right? You never heard that ever. It's never going to happen. The media are so all in for Hillary. And that's what makes that poll that I was talking about at the top so amazing is Trump competitive with the media all in for Hillary Clinton this way. Watch this one. Here's a black Trump supporter. His name is Pastor Mark Burns. And CNN goes directly after him, right?
Did you make that claim that you graduated from North
because
Greenville
I think
University?
This is not fair that this is not fair at all. This is not what I agreed to. I thought we were doing a profile, and all of a sudden you're here to try to destroy my character.
I'm not coming here to destroy your character. These are claims that were made on your website that was live while you were speaking at the Republican National Convention. My question is, are those claims accurate?
I understand this is what media does.
Okay, so they go after Mark Burns because he's a black guy who doesn't have the backing of the media. He's backing Donald Trump. Notice, again, I'm not saying everything Mark Burns has done is right or that he wasn't lying about his resume. All I'm saying is there's a guy named Sean King who's a legitimate white guy who's the black columnist for the New York Daily News. When's the last time you saw him on national TV and them asking him about, by the way, you're a white guy? Has that ever happened, ever? So the media are all in for Hillary Clinton, and Hillary, they're throwing Hillary softball after softball. Now they're asking Hillary about Monica Lewinsky. So in order to gin up some sort of sympathy for Hillary Clinton, you get Hillary Clinton, being asked about Monica Lewinsky. It is ironic that Hillary Clinton's finest hour in American politics was the American public feeling bad for her because some other woman was giving her husband pleasureful entertainment in the Oval Office. Here's Hillary now playing the victim again. She could have divorced him years ago, right? Whom is divorcing Anthony Weiner? But Hillary gets to play victim over Lewinsky again on CNN.
What was it to go through something so private, so personal, under the glare of the spotlight as the First Lady?
It was really hard. It was painful. And I was so supported by my friends. My friends just rallied around. They would come. They would try to make me laugh. They would recommend books to read. We'd go for long walks. We'd hang out, eat bad food. I mean, just the kinds of things you do with your friends. And it was something that you just had to get up every day and try to deal with.
Look how they're rehabilitating
while still carrying on a public.
Okay, we can stop it. Look how they're rehabilitating her here, right? She's a victim again. We're going back to 1998. First of all, she'd known for years and years her husband was a lout and a cheater and a rapist. She knew all this stuff for years. And there she is. They're going to play her as the victim again, right? She starts to lose. The first thing they do is they start playing the old, you should have sympathy for Hillary because her husband's a dog routine. That would be all fine and good, except that she stuck with him even though he was a dog. And she rode him to power, even though he was a dog. And she defended him and covered for him and threatened people, even though he was a dog. You never see the media ask her those questions. Now, the American people are smarter than this. They can see through this. I don't tend to give the American people a lot of credit on a lot of issues, but on this one, they can see through Hillary Clinton. They understand enough to know that Hillary Clinton is deeply, deeply corrupt. And so the defenses that are now being presented by the people on her side of the aisle are weak as water. I mean, these are not even weak tea. These are just water. Here's Tim Kaine, her vice presidential candidate, who looks more and more befuddled every day. I mean, Mike Pence looks befuddled on the other side. I think the battle of the befuddlement between Tim Kaine and Mike Pence is going to be something to behold in those vice presidential debates. They're just going to stare at each other quizzically the entire time, looking like they just got lost, like their Uber driver dropped them off in the wrong location. Here's Tim Kaine saying that Hillary Clinton, nobody should blame her for not holding a press conference.
You argue that she's talked to the press on the campaign trail, but our campaign reporters and others say she doesn't really answer that many questions. Is this going to change?
Martha, she's had hundreds of interviews in the last year, and I got to push back on the notion that she hasn't done a press conference. She gave a speech to the National Association in the last month, where there were also journalists, Hispanic journalists there, and she did a press conference there. And members of mainstream media outlets, television networks, asked her questions during that press conference. We're about to switch into a phase of the campaign where we will be on planes and the press will be on the planes with us, which is something that Donald Trump does not allow. We are not banning press outlets from covering public events.
They literally, they literally rope off press at her events. They literally have pictures of, like, the press being roped off behind an actual rope, like a herd of cattle. They actually have a sheepdog that they've laid out there to go and round up the press. Every time the press get out of their confined area, they have a sheepdog that runs around like Lassie and just collects all of the members of the press for them. And here he is saying, no, Hillary's fully transparent. Well, we'll tell you more about that. But first, got to say hello to our friends at U.S. Tax Shield. So let's say that you have a problem with the IRS. If you're a conservative, solid shot you have a problem with the IRS. But even if you're not, let's say that you've gotten hocked to the IRS because it's difficult to do those tax forms or you just didn't make a payment and now you owe some back taxes. You need to talk to my friends over at U.S. Tax Shield. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and they specialize in helping people who have fallen behind on taxes, people with personal tax liabilities and business payroll taxes, fees and penalties. You call them for a free consultation, and they get a senior tax consultant who will call the IRS hotline with you so that you can find out exactly what your liabilities are. And then they walk you through the process. They give you a guaranteed quote, and the quote does not increase. So you can do this whole process with them on the phone. It's fully transparent. It's fully honest. They also have something called the Fresh Start program that helps you come clean with the IRS and settle your debts in a short period of time for less than you probably would if you didn't have these people working for you. So you need to give them a call for a free consultation, 800-542-2226. That's 800-542-2226. You can visit them at ustaxshield.com/Ben. Make sure it's ustaxshield.com/Ben. Make sure you use /Ben so they know that we sent you. They advertise with us, which means we're grateful for their advertising. That also lets them know that because we sent you, that they should continue advertising, and as we say, keeping our unemployable minion juvenile delinquents employed throughout the progress of the Ben Shapiro Show. Okay, well, unfortunately, that runs out of time on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Go to Daily Wire if you want to watch the rest. Also, if you want to subscribe, and $8 a month gets you the ability to be part of the mailbag, which we do in a couple of days here. And by the way, don't worry. I know Tuesdays are usually Deconstructing the Culture Day. We'll do that tomorrow. But dailywire.com for the rest of the show live, or YouTube and iTunes and SoundCloud for the rest of the show audio. You can download that for free a little bit later in the day. Appreciate it. We'll obviously continue the show momentarily. I'm Ben Shapiro, and this is The Ben Shapiro Show.